Yeah, even though it's a quite expensive country, but I feel there is security for each and everyone who lives in Singapore. They have the equal rights. And being in LSBF and also the environment of LSBF with the multinational student environment at our campus, you will have the fantastic learning environment and a conducive study period for let's say if you're coming for a diploma programs or degree programs, you will definitely enjoy your study duration or study period with LSBF. We are not only involved in education, we also have various programs for our international students as well as local students. International students also will take part in various club activities. We have sport club, we have what do you call this, photography clubs, and we have a separate student council that who will aligning with quite a number of outdoor activities for our students. So the students who come from, whether it's from India or Sri Lanka or students from Indonesia or even in Singapore, definitely each and every classroom you will definitely see many nationality students. You will not be only exposed to one nationality student. You will be able to interact with multicultural students among your classmates itself. It's a very good blending environment for international students. And being in LSBF, LSBF give you a title. It's not only just a school who give you the academic qualifications, you will be moving out. LSBF qualification comes with a brand name, which will be shining not only in Singapore, across the world. You can bring our qualifications anywhere or any university. You can present your our qualification and get certain type of exemptions or even the credit transfer for your further studies. And please take note, LSBF is just not only the normal local school, it also comes with the international brand. So you are not only recognized in Singapore or in UK, you will be recognized in many other countries. Later on, when my academic head will be going through the slides, and he will be able to share with you regarding the pathway options and that universities that we have across the board, and how valid your qualification that you will be obtaining from LSBF Singapore. So those who want to get admissions to LSBF, it's quite very simple process, to getting into the LSBF. We are almost, every steps of our admissions and offer letters, or even if you're moving on to the moving on to Singapore, everything we have make it digitalized. Even your study environment with LSBF will be digitalized as well. So getting into our site, it will not be that difficult. And if you were looking at admission process or getting in touch with our people, we have all means of way for you guys to get in touch with us, whether it's a Facebook or Instagram, or even through WhatsApp, through emails. And we also have designated BDs, who business development managers, who will be based in various countries for our international students to assist them locally as well as based in Singapore as well. So if you talk about LSBF alone, we established in Singapore in 2011, and then we have acquired almost 34,000 students across Southeast Asia and Central Asia students who have graduated through LSBF Singapore. And LSBF also awarded Best Private School in Accountancy. And we also awarded as a Best Private School in Hospitality and Tourism. When it comes to hospitality and tourism, it's a fantastic industry. Meaning our students being placed in quite a number of top hotels and cuisines in Singapore, and many of them will get a permanent job in Singapore as well as other countries as well, who have graduated through our campus, and they move on to different country to excel their career. And we also awarded by another award, which is the Gold Award for Corporate Training for Financial Management at the Training and Education Development, which is, we call it as a TED. It's also one of the top ranked awards that we have achieved in last 10 years. These are a couple of awards to justify what is the quality of teaching that we have it in LSBF Singapore, especially for students who will be studying in Singapore campus. So as I covered earlier, we have a quality education. Of course, as everybody knows, we were in 3 years ago, or maybe 2.5 years ago, we were purely in a traditional learning method. Then when the COVID kicked in, everyone, have to forced to move on to the, online learning, or rather digitalization came into the place due to COVID. So many of them have to accept it, even though some of them are quite reluctant to be on international, or rather, be on online, to be to learn things through internet. So now it become, it's part of our life, and most of the things are being done online. Why I'm saying this, when it comes to LSBF, we are not only adapted the IT skills or to be a digitalized for our qualification, not only for admission, even to the throughout the teaching. We will give you the complete atmosphere and the teaching option for students, where they will feel they are sitting on the real class in classroom, in the physical classroom experience they will get when the students are studying through online. They will have a very interactive session with the lecturer, even though the students, studying from us, whether they are in campus or off-campus students. And we have a fantastic digitalized system, online system for our students to track their attendance, as well as the, delivering the courses online, and including the exams also, we have some of the classes being done online. So technology-wise, we are up to date, and also quality of the delivery of our courses, we always maintain a top-notch quality delivery for our students. That's why we produce quite a big group of students who graduate from Singapore. They move around to top-notch countries in Singapore, as well as the other countries as well. And of course, not only bringing students, we are also very much cautious about compliance. And when it comes to international students, not only you bounded with the schools rules and regulations, you're also being bounded by the ICA regulation. You have to meet 90% attendance, and there are a few other restrictions you also need to observe. When it comes to student pass or international student, we will run through separately, and what are the other external compliance that you need to meet if you decide to study with us in Singapore in campus. Then international students, of course, as I said earlier, we have 21 nationalities students are studying with us at our campus. Of course, depends on the program, which program you guys choose, but if you move around with the schools wise, which is School of Hospitality, School of Business, and other schools, you will be able to come across the other nationality students as well. And even though in Southeast Asia, very famous for Southeast Asia students, since we are in Singapore, and I would say that we have acquired with that our BD's hub, with one of our BDs is Julia, who is purely covering Central Asia region. With her help, I think we have brought in quite a number of students from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Russia, and Ukraine as well. So obviously, I mean, to be very frank with you, you will have the multinational students environment at LSBF Singapore campus. And these are our external universities, partners that who we run their programs at LSBF Singapore. And we do have transfer options program, and students who have graduated through us, whether they do a diploma program or 3 years program, they will be given the option to complete their final year bachelor degree with us in Singapore, or they can also, move on to other universities, which later on Mr. William will cover those part, which are the universities the student may wish to transfer. They will also have the transfer option to other universities as well. And we do a business program. Most of the business programs being run through University of Greenwich, and University of East London will be covers most of the IT programs. Then University of Law, obviously, is for the law programs, and also we are bringing in new programs. The Manchester Metropolitan University also coming on board for it, and programs come with the new programs. So, if you're looking at the campus, we are located in heart of the city, which is the Central Business District in Singapore. We call it CBD. Where you can, any students who live in Singapore, they will know, Raffles Place or Sisi Street or Tanjung Pagar. This is the heart of the city, where is the financial district. Most of the MLC headquarters are around us. And students from East, West, North, if they want to reach us, we are in a central location. So whether you want to take bus or train, we call it MRT, you will be able to reach our campus within, maximum 45 minutes. And even if the students stay 3 to 4 train station away, they can reach us within 10 to 15 minutes. And we do have students who live near our campus, and they also cycle to school. So the place what we are currently located, you get almost every buses from north, south, east, west will be, coming by and dropping by at CBD area. And also almost every line we have, blue line, red line, even circle line, downtown, east line, everything will be, have the station, the connecting point at near our campus. So even for 3 to 4 minutes walking distance, you will be able to reach the MRT station. The nearest would be Tanjung Pagar MRT station. You will be get there within 3 minutes from the campus. And Tanjung Pagar Raffles would be maybe around 5 minutes walking distance. And there's a downtown line that will be around less than 3 minutes. You will be able to reach. Around our campus, there are nice restaurants, whether you want to find Western food or local food, Indonesian, Malaysian, or Indian food, or Thai food, you would be able to, get it very close to our campus, because we are on a central location where most of the international crowd will be moving around our campus itself. One of the food court I would say is a Low Passage, which is quite famous food court, and it also is a night food outlet for tourists to visit. So that also is a walking distance to our campus. So those who are abroad, if you really want to locate us, maybe I can say that Marina Bay Sands is one of the nearest place for our campus, which you can also walk to the Marina Bay Sands from our campus in the Malayan, one of the iconic idol, what we can call it, from in Singapore, that you will be able to reach out to whether the Malayan or the Marina Bay from our campus within 10 to 15 minutes of walking distance. So when it comes to our academic side, these are our academic shapes. Mainly we will be covering 2 days School of Business and Law. So I would like to introduce Mr. William, who is the head of School of Business. He will be taking over from now and will be covering the rest of the slides. Mr. William, I will hand it over to your side.
Thank you very much, Dean, for the very rousing introduction. And I shall be taking over from here. A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this webinar today. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is William Chia, and I'm the head of school for the School of Business and Law at the London School of Business and Finance, Singapore. I have more than 15 years in the education industry. Before my appointment as the head of school for the School of Business and Law over at LSBF, I was actually formerly the assistant head of school for the School of Business and Management, for the School of Foundation Studies and Business and Management Certificate and Diploma programs at the PSB Academy. And prior to my appointment, I used to be very active in China, and previously I've had the honor to serve as the Dean of the Nanjing Audit University Jingshan College International Business School in the People's Republic of China. Beg your pardon, sorry. Yep, and today I would like to introduce to you my School of Business and Law academic team. We have Mr. Muhammad Siddiq, who's the Deputy Head of School. We've got one of the senior lecturers, very experienced presenter and very charismatic, Dr. Roy Yap, who's actually sitting in the audience today as we are speaking. One of our finest lecturer, Mr. Aman Rahim, who has had very great experience in the logistics sector and teaching on the Masters of Business Administration program. We have Mr. Jeffrey Koh, who's also very active teaching our undergraduate and postgraduate programs. And then we go to Mr. Benedict Peck, who's a specialist in our diploma in hospitality programs. And last but not least, we have Mr. Siddiqui Kaba, who's one of the very experienced and very experienced, possessing great expertise in quantitative finance and accounting subjects. And of course, at LSBF, we have very close working partnerships with some of the finest universities in the world. And one of them is one of our longtime university partner, the University of Greenwich. In short, we call that UOG. And UOG, or University of Greenwich, is a very well-known and recognized household name in the United Kingdom. And they are a London-based institution that has been committed to providing students with memorable student experiences ever since 1890. And not only does the university celebrate diversity with a student cohort with over 140 countries, it also champions the employment of expert and well-qualified teaching staff and faculty members who are able to create very wonderful learning journeys for the students and share industry relevant knowledge. And of course, University of Greenwich has been ranked in the top 8% globally by the Center for World University Rankings on a very frequent basis. And then another one of our very exciting university partners is actually the University of Law, or ULaw in short. And ULaw is actually one of the longest and well-established providers of legal education and training in the United Kingdom. But besides being an expert in law, ULaw is also very good at offering business, criminology, policing courses. And of course, if you have been to their website, or if you could just check out their website, you will know that ULaw campuses are actually based all over United Kingdom and even in Asia Pacific. Some of the courses and the good thing about their courses is very much like what LSBF has to offer. Their courses are available both online for part-time and full-time, and this affords a great deal of flexibility to our students who can actually choose their learning method and allow them to pace themselves, all right, in how they want to craft, how they want to shape their learning journeys. And one of the great achievements by ULaw is that they are actually ranked first among universities for overall student satisfaction in England. And they were awarded the 5-star rating by the QS World University Ranking. If you are not aware by now, the QS World University Ranking is a very esteemed university ranking and assessor, and they have this top 1,000 university ranking almost every year, and almost all the reputable universities would take part in it, and they are a force to be reckoned with and taken very seriously by both students and faculty members and researchers and even policymakers and governments all over the world. And at LSBF Singapore, we have 6 main specialist fields that we offer to students. As Dean had mentioned just now, Singapore is a very reputable financial hub. We are very multinational. A lot of multinational companies, financial institutions are actually located here. And these 6 course domains are actually targeted to train and to provide our graduates with very solid grounding, both theoretical and practical skills to actually take advantage of this and equip themselves with the skills, the experience, the attitude, and the aptitude to be able to serve their employers very well when they graduate with us. And our campus being located right smack right in the middle of the Central Business District in Singapore actually allows our students to have a feel and gain exposure to the kind of environment that you can expect to face when you graduate from LSBF. And then you step into the real world with the financial institutions and the multinational companies. All right. So these 6 domain fields, we offer both diploma, undergraduate, postgraduate programs in business, accounting and finance, banking and finance, hospitality, logistics, and law. And these are very crucial sectors that we believe are quite recession-proof. All right, so there will always be a demand for accounting, for accountants, for bankers, for lawyers. And then as COVID would have it, as COVID has shown, logistics and supply chain is another sector that has become very crucial, especially when there's a choke-off in supply chains at the height of the pandemic, especially for companies like DB Schenker, Apple, Huawei, all these Samsung, all these companies, they very much depend on supply chain, and therefore logistics is a fast-growing sector, and its importance is actually highlighted and made even more prominent via the pandemic. And hospitality has rebounded aggressively now that the pandemic is in recession. All right. In fact, the hospitality sectors, not just in Europe and Asia Pacific, but including places like India and China, you see a lot of multinational companies, hospitality and luxury brands like Hilton, for example, growing very aggressively and wanting to. And the Marriott Group, for example, wanting to increase thousands of hotels per year in China alone. So these are very exciting fields that the students should exploit when they are looking to ask themselves what field allows me to get a good job and then to get a good starting pay and get a great head start in my career. All right. Just give me a moment, please. There's a screen freeze. Oh, okay. So some of our postgraduate programs, which are incredibly popular, all right, at the master's level, especially from the University of Greenwich, we have our Masters in Business Administration, International Business, and Masters of Art in International Business. The duration are almost very similar. The only difference is the eligibility, but the course structure is almost identical. The only difference is that for MBA, because MBA by itself, although it's a generalist degree at the postgraduate level, usually students who are looking to take the MBA, all right, are trying to push for advancement in their managerial careers. And usually these kind of candidates would have about 3 to 5 years of working experience in their specialist fields before they are being considered for a general management positions. All right. And the MBA in international business actually prepares you for the generalist skills that you will need as a manager, where there's a lot more soft skills. Yes, you do need your technical skills in terms of finance, accounting, but more importantly, at the MBA level, we are looking to train candidates to develop that kind of soft skills, that kind of leadership skills, analytical abilities, system thinkings kind of skills, all right, to advance upwards, because you'll be looking to manage team members. All right. Masters of Art International Business, however, doesn't really require that two years of work experience. So fresh graduates from the university who haven't really entered the workforce, looking to do something similar to MBA, but then you decide, I don't want to wait for another 2 to 5 years in my job. I just want to finish my studies and gain an advanced degree. All right, fret not, we have the Masters of Art or MA in International Business, where you can just continue your studies and then you graduate at the master's level before you begin your working experience. For students who think, nope, I think I might want to really try to move to the logistics sector or supply chain management. All right, I don't really want to be a generalist. Okay, all right. We have the Masters of Art in Logistics and Supply Chain Management. Now, 2 kinds of students will be looking at this. Okay, first, I don't want to do a generalist degree. Secondly, I may have taken a diploma in banking or bachelor's in banking, but I'm not really a finance person. I want to try and specialize in something to do with logistics and supply chain. Okay, fine. So you don't have to do the MBA or Masters of Science in Finance. You can actually do a specialized degree to signal to the employers that, okay, I'm interested in this field, and now I want to take this MA in Logistics and Supply Chain. And I have had some theoretical knowledge about it. So could you consider me for a starting position or for a career transition from banking or from education into logistics and supply chain management? All right. And then we have from University of Law, 3 law programs at the postgraduate level, the first of which is the Masters of Law in International Business Law. The second one is Masters of Law in International Corporate Governance, and the Masters of Science in Legal Technology. And again, for people, now, there are questions asked. I think the audience might be curious to ask, are these only for lawyers or people in the legal fraternity? The answer is no. All right. Again, it is the same thing. These Masters of Law programs could be for a banker who just simply wants to know more about international business law because he has to grapple with the complexities of contract law, all right, or commercial law or company law. And then, of course, if we have a director, someone who has his own business, wants to be an entrepreneur, wants to do trading, all right, or in government, or you're in policy making, all right, or you are in corporate secretarial position, or you are in banking compliance, you could seek to do our Masters of Law in International Corporate Governance, which basically it's a field, all right, that schools you in things like fiduciary duties of a director, for instance, or if you want to list your companies in New York or London stock exchanges, what are some of the requirements in terms of corporate governance and how you need to structure, all right, the directors and the board of directors, okay, and how you want to do your organizational structure, what are some of the duties that you have to fulfill. For instance, if you have been following the news today or yesterday, the Singapore Stock Exchange has now come up with a new regulatory ruling. Now, it is mandatory for board of directors and CEOs to make transparent, all right, their annual salary package as part of the listing requirements. And these are some of the things that you'll be learning, but of course, at a more international level. And Masters of Science in Legal Technology is basically the same as FinTech, but more towards legal tech. All right, it's like financial tech for FinTech, but for MSc in legal tech, it's more for legal technology. For example, things like contracts now need not be drafted by lawyers anymore. Okay, now you have things like micro contracts, standard contracts. You just go to a website, you click the fields, you press what kind of categories you want, you add them to the cart, and then you check them out and pay via credit card. You get your micro contract, for instance. That could be part of legal technology. All right, these are some of the things that you'll be studying. Now, if you look at the entry requirements or the eligibility, all right, at the master's level for the UOG program, most of it as you need to have a bachelor's degree. MBA, you have to have that mandatory two years work requirement. For the rest of the UOG programs, Masters of Art in International Business and Logistics and Supply Chain, it could just be a normal bachelor's degree, no work experience required, and you just need to have, you just need to produce evidence of your proficiency in English with an IELTS of 6 or equivalent. For law programs, the requirements in your language proficiency is slightly higher at an additional 0.5, okay? Because, I mean, law is, after all, a subject that requires you to display a certain flair for the English language in order to be able to grapple with the complexities of common law statutes, for example, and the statutory law, okay? I beg your pardon as I'm looking to go to the next slide. Sorry. Oh, geez. So just give us a moment while I try to go backwards. Well, as you know by now, the technology, of course, technology presets, it facilitates education and allows us to change and make better our delivery styles. But this is an example of the kind of challenges you might face during digital transformation in education. Sorry, could somebody help me to go backwards because I can't do that from my end? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming back. So for graduate, for our undergraduate programs, again, these are mainly University of Greenwich programs. We have our Bachelor of Arts Business Studies, which is again a very generic level, very generic business studies. We have our Bachelor of Arts in Accounting and Finance, top up. We have our Bachelor of Arts in Logistics and Transportation Management, Bachelor of Arts in Hospitality and Management. Now, you might be wondering, what do you mean by top up? Top up meaning, all right, you could perhaps have done a diploma in business studies or an advanced diploma in business studies. For your information, the diploma in business studies at LSBF is actually pegged to year 1, is equivalent to year 1 of university. And the advanced diploma that we offer is actually equivalent to year 2 of university. All right. And after you have finished the advanced diploma with LSBF, you gain a direct entry into the 3rd year of the University of Greenwich programs. And that is what we mean by a top-up. But at the end of your whole learning journey, if you complete the studies with LSBF and the University of Greenwich, ultimately you will have both the LSBF diplomas and proof and a certification that you have completed and met the requirements of a bachelor's equivalent proficiency with the University of Greenwich. All right. Next slide, please. And now for students who can't really come to Singapore, or they are stuck somewhere around the world, one of the key advantage that we offer in LSBF is that we also have this this platform called the LSBF X, which is actually our exclusive online platform offering a lot of programs, some of which are at the master's, bachelor's level, or even at the diploma level. As you can see here, these programs, we have a partnership with Cambridge College, which is located in the United States of America. And these studies, although they have a duration, for example, the Doctor of Business Administration in Quality Systems and Improvement Management, in short, the DBA, which is for 36 months full-time and 48 months part-time. Now, although we have the duration there, but the students who are enrolled for these programs at LSBFX actually have the flexibility to determine their own study track and really at their own pace. So this gives our students really the flexibility, the space, the time to really gauge for themselves how they want their studies to progress. And of course, a lot of students who are either pursuing their career or working at the same time, these will be some of the viable options that they can actually explore and look at, because we understand that these working adults, all right, or students require this kind of flexibility in order to get the best of all worlds. If I could move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So all these programs that we have talked about, there are many articulation pathways to enter them. So even if you have not done well at whichever level that you are, these different segments of diplomas that we offer actually allow you to see, to give you a chance not to give up on your studies, but to pursue them and continue this advancement of a knowledge journey that you are on. And to ensure that you have a chance to actually pursue and gain a bachelor's or a master's eventually at the end of your learning journey. But the diplomas here, are actually articulation pathways for you to move upwards. And depending on the entry requirement here, if you have A levels, for example, you could enter at the diploma levels. Diplomas, we only, which is equivalent to the year 1 of university, you just need 2 A-level passes, all right, and a GCE O-level, at least a C6 in English, and you can come in and join our full-time or part-time course depending on your schedule, all right. For higher diploma is an 18 months full-time program. And again, the advantage is not just the flexibility, but the fact that if you had done a full A-level program in the UK, it would have been about 2.5 to 3 years. In Singapore, you will have to do a very rigorous 2-year A-level programs. But here, we allow you to do a higher diploma at 18 months full-time in 1.5 years, and then you can straight away move on to see whether you can go on to a bachelor's top-up degree. And that is the kind of advantage that we really offer you in terms of cost and time saving, all right? So advanced diploma for students who have already done year 1 of university or a diploma elsewhere, you can come in and join the advanced diploma, which is equivalent to year 2. Again, most year 2 programs will take 1 full year, but for our full-time advanced diploma program, we can actually shorten the whole progress for you to complete in just 8 months, all right? And at the postgraduate diploma program, these are mostly for students who have completed a minimum of a bachelor's degree. And then you just want to, perhaps you don't want to pursue a master's because you just don't want to write too much dissertation, but you want to experience starting in Singapore, for example, at a higher level. You could actually try for a 6 months postgraduate diploma program, and then see whether that allows you to gain sufficient credits to move up to complete a dissertation somewhere to get a full master's program. Or perhaps you just want to change your specialization. For example, we have had students who have had a bachelor's in logistics, for example, but then they want to come to Singapore and do a postgraduate diploma in hospitality or postgraduate diploma in business, all right, because they want to move more into fields like entrepreneurship or business studies, for instance. All right. Next slide, please. Thank you. And these are some of the university pathways after you have completed the LSBF diplomas. You could, of course, go to University of Greenwich, as we have mentioned earlier, and University of Law. But these are just some of the programs and articulation partners we have. Although University of Greenwich and ULaw are more reputable and they're more popular among our students, but we also have we also allow our students to finish our diplomas and then advance to final year programs at University of Canterbury, for example, Northwood University, University of Canada West, and Victoria University in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. Okay, so plenty of options for students to choose from, all right, to think about your career and your future and how you want to shape it. All right, next slide, please. These are just a further elaboration of some of the pathways. All right, if you are looking at undergraduate, if you have a A-level or a 12-year equivalent in other countries, you could just directly come in. If you are international students, most of the route that you'll be choosing is a higher diploma, which is actually worth 2 years of university program, but you can do it in about 18 months, which is 1.5 years. All right, and then once you pass everything, you can actually gain a direct entry into a bachelor's degree. And then even shorter time period for, as you can see, 8 months for University of Greenwich, all right? Or you could simply choose from our university pathway. So it actually allows what I would call a more accelerated route to gain a qualification in the shortest time possible with cost savings, all right? For those who already gained your bachelor's degree now, you might be thinking, oh, it's really not, you know, like in Singapore, it's so competitive, or perhaps in other financial districts around the world or financial hubs around the world, you know, it's getting so competitive. I really need to stand out as a candidate to get a better job, to get a promotion in my current company. You know, those with a bachelor's degree, you can actually choose the MBA, as we have spoken about, if you want to advance in your career, or the MA in International Business by the University of Greenwich. And then, or you could also choose our postgraduate diploma in business and then move upwards to MBA at University of Canada West. Now, this is a real life example that we have experienced with a lot of candidates from actually what LSBF is doing right now with University of Greenwich. We have had a lot of employees from or students who are employees at a lot of logistic companies or multinationals in Singapore, who have been told by HR that if they want to get a pay raise or to be considered for a promotion, they actually have to produce the proof that they have undertaken and completed studies at the bachelor's or master's level. Okay, and this is what we're encountering now. A lot of students are actually told by their HRs, human resource departments in Singapore, especially for multinational companies, that if they want to further up or be considered for other promotional opportunities or for pay raise, they absolutely need to get that certificate and their transcripts submitted to their human resource department for such considerations. So not to scare students, but this is actually quite real, and we are facing a lot of such instances with our current students, really. Of course, some of them are sponsored, some of them are not sponsored by their companies. But this is absolutely crucial in today's career, that it's not just for your practical skills and your learning journey as a whole, and having fun while doing it, but actually for more practical reasons, like you absolutely need this. All right, and a UOG, a degree from the United Kingdom and from LSBF actually helps you to open doors. Again, like what Dean's mentioned earlier, is not just in Singapore alone, okay, and not even in Asia Pacific alone, but across the whole world. All right, with a globally recognized diploma and degree. Next slide, please. And what makes our diploma programs so special, especially for our diploma, advanced diploma, higher diploma in hospitality and logistics, is that we actually have this component called the IA component, or what we call the industrial attachment components, where students who are on our hospitality and logistics specialization programs at the diploma level, okay, you can actually have the option to choose a 6 months attachment to a company in your sector. All right, and we have had students who have actually went for our industrial attachment for 6 months with very well-known companies. That will be shown in the next slide, please. Some of the partners that we have are actually quite famous. For example, Marina Bay Sands Singapore, who have an agreement with us to take in our students for the 6 month 6 months industrial attachment programs. And we have had instances of students who have, during in the course of the industrial attachment, sufficiently impressed their employers to actually take them on full time. Okay, we have actually had that happening quite a lot. And some of the hotels here and the the industrial attachment partners that we have here are actually quite well known in Asia Pacific. For example, Marina Bay Sands, Singapore, as we have mentioned earlier, Fullerton Hotel, Fullerton Bay Hotel, Ya Kun, for example, Laurie's Restaurant, 67 Pomo. And then if you look at the right side, Hotel G, Pan Pacific Hotel, Oakwood Hotel, and then of course the other restaurants in the hospitality sector. But this list that we are talking about is not exhaustive. There are way more partners that we have. If you feel that, nope, I don't think I'm satisfied with the current list that the school has provided in terms of the partnership, official partnerships, that's okay. You can actually have the option here to go and search for employers who want to take you on for your industrial attachment program. Okay. Or if you feel that, nope, I really don't want to do this industrial attachment program, I don't need it, I just want to quickly further my studies and then move on to do a bachelor's degree with University of Greenwich or master's degree, you could just simply opt for a simple project option and then complete it as soon as possible and then move up to the next level or go out into the workforce. All right. Next slide, please. Student services, some of the student services that LSBF have to provide. All right, we are very active in terms of engaging students to join some of our student clubs. All right, and this will allow our students to have a very great experience in mingling with the multinational cast, the multinational students that we have all the way from Central Asia, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, to even Russia and Ukraine. We even have had Italian and German students. From India, from China, getting together for cultural activities, for festivals, for events on a regular basis. All right, and this is a very good opportunity for you, not just to experience life in the financial hub of Singapore, but also to get a taste of the culture of the students and get to build your network. All right, and network, as we say, is absolutely important in the business world. All right, to craft this network for you to take home and into your career. All right, that will be of use next time. Okay, and of course, beyond all that, we also have a lot of career workshops for your career development, which is very helpful for you to get prepared, like how to write your resume, whether should I put my photo in the resume, what kind of font size should I type it in? Is it size 12? Is it Times New Roman or Calibri? You know, so things like that, we do have regular sessions to advise you, to teach you how to really write your career, your resume, so that when you go out, you know how to present yourselves very well. Okay, next slide, please. And of course, on top of that, for the next slide, if we go to the next slides, these are some of the pictures that you can see. For example, the upcoming on the 17th of January, students are welcome to join us, all right, on campus for our January intake orientation for the University of Greenwich, where you get to meet not just your classmates, faculty members, and then staff from LSBF. You also get to meet some of the University of Greenwich representatives, all right, who will come down and then network with you and then give you an induction into this partnership between LSBF and University of Greenwich and what it's all about. Okay, and as you can see from the pictures, sitting in front are some of the students. Some of them, I think this student should be from, if I'm not mistaken, from Central Asia or from Russia. And then mixed with, we have students from Vietnam, from China, from India, and all over the place. Okay, all over the world. Next. And if you sign up for the hospitality or logistic programs, these are just some of the site visits that we organize. COVID-19 is now in recession. It's a new normal. Therefore, hotels are now back to almost full occupancy in Singapore, and therefore our regular visits to hotels, to restaurants, have resumed. And these are just taken within the last 2 months, where one of our lecturers actually arranged for an industry visit to meet up with the human resource department and the marketing department at Sentosa, which is this very famous tourist attraction in Singapore. And the students put on their uniforms and go in and have a great time. And they get a very specialized tour of what the hotel does. All right. And the students who, as you can see, the students find extremely helpful to hear it firsthand from an industry expert on what you can expect when you actually join us full-time in the hospitality sector. Okay, and these are some of the exciting activities. These are just some of the various kind of activities that we really have planned for our students who join us over in LSBF. All right, and without further ado, thank you so much for listening to my presentation. And now I'm going to hand the time over to Dean again, who will come in and share with you the admissions process and other related questions that you might have. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dean.
Thank you so much, Mr. William. Thank you so much for your time and give us a very detailed information about the academic staff. And thank you so much for giving all this stuff, all the information related to the academic side. So let's move on to the admission point, which is the first thing, when the students decide to study, whether it's a local student or whether international student. Once you decided, okay, I'm going to take up this program, I want to study this particular qualification, what is next? How am I going to get enrolled? If it's local students, very straightforward admission process. If the students want to study online, do not want to study in Singapore, want to study completely 100% offshore, then of course your admission process is very much simple. You just need academic qualifications, then your local identity card. With that, I think you should be able to come into the program as long as you meet the entry requirement, as what Mr. William said earlier. So the international students who need student pass, who need to be in Singapore in order to study your programs, then your application process is a little bit longer, because we need to not only you securing the offer letter, you also need to go through the visa process. So our academic consultant or rather business development manager, the people who are assigned to you as a point of contact at the time of enrollment, they will be able to guide you step by step how to move on to first stage, to second and third, and all the way to the visa approval stage, and then getting the transfer pre-departure activities, required information that you need for pre-departure as well as accommodation. I think your point of contact will be able to give you all the information. So those who want to enroll with us, I think first thing what you need to do is just to remember you need to have a passport. That's the first document if you want to study with us. This is only applicable for students who are based in outside of Singapore, who required student visa to come in to Singapore to study. So student who wants to apply to study with us through online or want to study with us in Singapore who are local students, I think your admission process is very much easy. So the students want to go through the student pass process because they will need to travel to Singapore and they need to study in Singapore. That's where this process, the visa process, will kick in. So the first step is just you need to have a valid passport. Make sure that your passport carries more than 6 months of validity. Then academic qualifications. Applying for undergraduate program, you need to get your academic qualification, which is that GC O-level, A-level. Some country they practice 10 years of education, 12 years of education. Some country they consider about 9 years of education, 3 years of junior college educations. Depends on the country that students come from, and make sure that you meet the minimum academic requirement, which our academic coordinators or other business development managers or sales consultant will be able to advise you. So The next one is the application form. We just need to fill up the LSBF application form. So LSBF application form, academic qualification, which is 10th and 12th or GC O level, A level, then a passport photocopy is more than enough for you to get into our diploma level qualifications. If the students want to apply for a postgraduate program, which is the master's program, then you need to have a bachelor degree. With that, we should be able to, get started with your first steps of admission, which is the offer letter. Once you complete the offer letter stage, the academic side accepted you into a program, then your sales and the point of contact will give you the offer letter. Then you should be able to proceed with your application fee. Once you're done with the application fee, then academic point of contact, which is your sales consultant or BD, will be able to guide you through the next stage of the document that you need to submit for the visa filing. So visa filing, we need your signed offer letter. Then, of course, you would have made the application fee and a passport size photograph. And if, let's say, you have completed your academic in 5 years ago or 7 years ago, if there is a gap, you need to list down your activities, what you have done during that particular period. Some would have gone and worked for a couple of years. Some would have, active in some sort of sport activities, or maybe, freelance activities. So if you can list down that what you have done for the particular period, that will be enough to cover your gaps. Then obviously most countries, they need financial statements, but the students, there are certain countries it will exempt you. So those countries that exempted from financial statement, your point of contact will tell you, your BD or the academic consultant will advise you whether you need to provide bank statement or not. So nevertheless, in that 5 documents is required for you to complete the visa documentations. Once the visa documentation is confirmed, your point of contact will tell you, yes, your documents are in order. We will submit the documents for visa filing. Once you submit the documents to visa filing, it will take, depends on the period that you are applying for. Most cases, we will get the visa approval in 14 days. Some cases can go beyond 14 days of approval, depends on case-by-case basis. That also depends on how fast the immigration respond to us. So if it is approved, you will be on board with us, and then the point of contact will advise you on the fees, the remaining fees to be transferred, then your pre-departure requirement, and plus if you need any assistance on your accommodations, our point of contact will be able to advise you on that. If it is unsuccessful, then you have 2 options to appeal. One you can put up an appeal. The next would be, if you still want to study, you can study online. All right. So that's all from our side. Now we will open the questions right now. If you have any questions want to ask, maybe you can you can put up your questions right now. Yeah. Guys, is there any question that you would like to ask? All right. Yes, I guess there is. They're not hearing any questions, and I think after this there will be a breakup session that Mr. Pratik will. Okay, sorry, Mr. John Jeffrey. Yes, what is your questions about?
Sir, I'm a former student of LSBF and UOG. I just wanted to know how will there be an application fee for a former student?
For existing students who are moving on to the further studies with us, we do not charge application fee.
Do not have to.
You don't have to, but it's also case by case basis. You are from which country? You're based in Singapore or overseas?
I studied in Singapore. 2 years ago in 2021.
LSBF?
Yeah, LSBF, London School of Business and Finance.
Okay. All right. So then you wanted to study with us. You want to continue your further studies with us, right?
Yeah, because I already have a degree program also from from LSBF.
Okay. So I think most cases you don't have to pay the application fee, but who is your point of contact? Is there any academic or rather a business development manager telling your admission process at the moment?
No, actually, because I left Singapore two years ago, actually. So I just wanted to, so I didn't continue actually.
Okay, so we will take up, we will speak to you, and hopefully if you are continuing with us for further studies, you will not be able, you don't need to pay the application fee, and once a visa approved, we can pay the rest of the fees since you are existing student.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other questions?
And how long will the visa process take actually by ICA?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Also for existing students also.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. And do you later on in the breakup room, maybe we can get more details from your side. Which country are you from, if you don't mind?
Republic of India.
All right. Okay, sure. And I think we will have another session, and we will be able to get more information from your side. And with that, we will advise you what is the next course of action. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
All right. Great. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the question. Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other questions? Yeah, I think that's all for now from our side. Let's hand over to Pratik. Pratik, can you guide us through the next part, which is the breakup room? So can you how does it going to work?
Dean, there were a few questions which a lot of students have asked in during the time that we collected a lot of questions there. So if you can answer, or maybe William can answer those questions alongside, because there were subjective questions there, so we can take them during this session, and maybe then break into our break rooms.
Okay, just give me a second. Let me take the question up. Okay, so I have the questions here. So one of the questions the students have asked, I'm interested about a food business industry. I want to know more about MBA. So I think the first question is wanted to know food industry, which is how the food industry works in Singapore. That I presume that would be his question. Then
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I think I can answer about the food and beverage industry in Singapore. There is a serious shortage in terms of skilled professionals in the F&B business in Singapore. That is the truth. But the thing is that the shortage is not just limited to Singapore. The F&B, in fact, from the entire hospitality industry is facing a manpower crunch. There's a huge demand for skilled professionals in the hospitality industry and specifically in the F&B industry. A lot of people are mistaken to think that the F&B industry is just you have to be a chef, but there are also other parts of F&B like running the business in operations, how managing the restaurant, for example. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just about cooking or culinary skills. If you want to move up to the MBA, and that will be very helpful because we do have the director of food, and we actually have someone who is now actually based in Vietnam, who's the director of food and beverage. Okay, I can't remember. I think it's Pullman Hotel Group. Okay, he's actually the director of food and beverage for Pullman Hotel Groups in Vietnam. All right, and then he used to be doing the Masters of Business Administration with us. Okay, during his MBA program. So that is actually possible. All right, and I think he chose to do that with us, to do the MBA as what I've spoken to you. He's decided that maybe from his director of food and beverage, now he wants to become a general manager of the whole hotel, or maybe he wants to move upwards into CEO of the entire hotel chain or regional director. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that when you start off at food and beverage that you will actually end up there. We have a lot of people who went through the food and beverage route, and then they become director of food and beverage, and you'll be surprised to know that a lot of general managers who essentially runs the whole hotel, a lot of general managers actually come from the food and beverage industry, the food and beverage departments of the hotels. Okay. And of course, the average pay for director of food and beverage in the hospitality industry for Singapore, if you check JobStreet or other job portals, it can range from 6,000 Singapore dollars for the smaller establishments to 10 to $12,000 for the very large hotel chains. Okay, for example, I'm very, very certain that the director of food and beverage for Ritz-Carlton, the Ritz-Carlton or Millennium Hotels, for example, a huge chain, especially those under the Marriott Group, okay, probably around 8 to 12,000, around that kind of a range. And of course, as you move upwards into general management, then you go up to managing director and then CEO level, you definitely need an MBA, okay, or at a master's level. So that's the reality of it. Otherwise, it could be just running Lawry's Prime Ribs, or maybe running the, operations for McDonald's chain, for Ashton Steakhouse, or for Outback Steakhouse, or for Hungry Jack's, things like that. Okay, so a lot of options available to you. Or if you decide that, I want to learn some of the skills and how to manage food and beverage operations, like we also have food sanitation and safety, how to make sure that your restaurant and the kitchen actually complies with the rigorous sanitation and food safety requirements. That is actually needed for food and beverage. And of course, the practical side, like customer service skills, how do you handle customers who are very demanding, for example, and these are some of the aspects that you actually need in food and beverage. Or if you decide I want to go into culinary skills, and then that's another facade as well. Okay, but you can essentially finish our diploma programs at the hospitality levels, and then you can choose a bachelor's degree, either a business studies, or you want to specialize in a bachelor's in hospitality management. And then after you have finished your bachelor's, then you move up to the master's degree. And all along the pathways, you can have different specializations. For example, I already have a diploma in hospitality. I want to do an MBA, or then maybe I want to really change into logistics. Maybe I want to do international trade. I want to import food products from India to Singapore hotels, for example. I need to have a knowledge of logistics supply chain. So along the way, you can actually do all your different specializations. Or if you want to, you can just straight away focus on hospitality alone. So many different pathways. Along the way, if you realize that actually food and beverage is really what I want, that's good for you. If you realize that, no, I want something else, I think I really want to try not food and beverage, but maybe hotels operations management, for example. I want to be a general manager, or I want to go and do international trade, or I want to become an accountant or IT specialist in a hotel or at a restaurant group. Okay, that could happen. Okay, so the possibilities are actually limitless. Okay, limited only by your own potential and your imagination of how you want your career, your personal development to be. It really depends. It really depends. But LSBF Singapore, University Greenwich, Okay, we do have the necessary qualifications, okay, to allow you to pursue your passion, your career, all right, and enjoy it while you're doing it. So I hope that kind of answers the food and beverage questions. But along the way, of course, you got to start at the diploma level, and then you got to move up to bachelor's in hospitality management, and then to the master's level. But these are the future roadmap that you have, and our educational consultants later in the breakout groups will actually answer and address the final details and chart your career path, your study path with LSBF. And I'll leave that for further discussion with the education consultants. Thanks, Dean. Next question, if
just give me a second. Thank you, Mr. William. I think I look at a few of the questions. Most of them are asking about, online studies. I think, Mr. William, if you can just give them the bit of, heads up on how different it would be, if they want to study online and offline, in the class atmosphere, how the students will feel, if they're studying in a different country, and will they able to get the same sort of interaction with the lecturer? And if you can highlight to them, on that, will be great. Thank you so much.
Well, this is a very good question, and I've attended many webinars before, and students always ask me, should I come to Singapore? Should I go online? Where should I do? Should I? The answer is a hybrid. Okay. The reality is that COVID-19 has put into motion, okay, a brand new study mode. We cannot totally do away with technology anymore. It has to be there. But the study experience, it really depends. Like I said, if you are not able to come to Singapore, then obviously online studies are the only way to go, and you have no choice. Okay. If you are able to come to Singapore, that will be the best part. Okay. You come here for face-to-face interaction, or it could be some lessons are online, some lessons are actually face-to-face, which is what we call the hybrid delivery mode, and which is what most education institutions are doing anyway, including LSBF. What LSBF is special is that we offer, at least at the very least at the diploma levels, we offer very flexible modes. You can choose to be fully online, you can choose to be here, or you could choose face-to-face or both. All right, so that's the flexibility. Or if you want fully online at your own pace, you don't even need the lecturer to be there. You can go for 100% online at the LSBF X platform. Okay, now which one is better? It really depends. We have had students, each person's situation is different, each person's preferences are different. So I can't really tell you what I think is suitable for myself, but rather you have to ask yourself, what is your situation right now? Okay, what do you prefer? Okay, which will be your preference? All right, if you think that I'm trapped overseas, I can't come here, then you need to go for the online mode. Now, whether or not the experience will be different, of course, the experience will be different. But like I said, now, a lot of students are mistaken into thinking that, yeah, it's about the IT, it's not really about the IT, it's not really, yes, it will be good. And our lecturers are very good at that, at handling online students as well and face-to-face. Okay, they are very, very well trained, very, very proficient, very experienced in it. But ultimately, as a student, you need to ask yourself, it's you, it's not the lecturer. The lecturer is not going to be beside you when you do your essay. The lecturer is not going to hold your hand in the examination and help you to write your answers. It's still back to the student. The student is the one who is going to get the degree. The student is the one who's going to attempt. The student is the one who's going to undergo the journey. The lecturer, the IT is only there to assist you. But you as a student got to ask yourself, what do you want? I've had students who totally had zero ability to go on the internet because their internet was cut off. They have had no slides given to them, but yet they go and take their own initiative to find out, and then they still get a first-class honors. And on the other hand, I could give you everything you want. I could give you the IT resources that you can have. I can have the best teacher for you. But if you yourself, all right, do not put in that effort and the enthusiasm for that learning, giving you the best resources is just going to go down the waste. So ultimately, many students are really, I have to dispel this and clarify this. It depends on the individual. Okay. But what LSBF can do for you is we offer you all the options available. And in between, if you feel that face-to-face is not really for me, can I explore online? The answer is yes, but you have to have a chat with the school. You have to have a chat with your business consultants, with your education consultants to see whether you want to make that transition. The answer is yes. What LSBF offers is that, you can have a choice. You can pick. If halfway you realize that online is not for me, I really want to do face-to-face, or, I'm not happy with online, I want to come to Singapore, I want to do face-to-face, there's that option open to you. But you have always got to ask yourself, what is your preference? What suits you the most? We at LSBF can offer you that kind of a flexibility, but it ultimately depends on the student himself or herself, all right, to decide your context, your situation, and then to make a decision. There is no textbook or standard one-size-fits-all answer for this. I would say it depends, but you have got to think through this carefully, and then maybe meet up with our education consultants who will then guide you through the different possibilities that you can have or can enjoy with the London School of Business and Finance, Singapore. Okay. Yep. So, Dean.
Yeah, there's another interesting question. I think that's also related to School of Law, I believe. How can I work in Singapore upon completion in law programs?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Okay, you see, the thing is this. Now, Singapore is very stringent. We are well known for our rule of law. Okay. Rule of law is the fundamental principle behind the common law, which Singapore inherited from United Kingdom or Great Britain in its heydays during the colonial days now. And because of the common law and the rule of law, Singapore guarantees investment, and we do things according to the law. And that's why investors are very comfortable with Singapore. And that's the reputation that we have built for ourselves. We are very stringent on this. Unless you are on the industrial attachment program as sanctioned by the school, students who are in Singapore on student visa are forbidden from working in Singapore. Okay. And upon graduation, if upon graduation you want to work in Singapore, I'm not quite sure really on this, because I'm not an expert in employment law in Singapore, to be upfront with you. I was more of a contract law and commercial and companies law person, and banking and finance. So employment law, not really my cup of tea. But generally speaking, from the looks of it and from the existing knowledge that I have, I would say it's not very possible for students to directly work in Singapore unless you find an employer that will sponsor you. Okay, but in order to find an employer that will sponsor you, you need to have a skill set that is very rare, that they can't find any Singaporeans or local foreigner to do it. Okay, you for example, if you tell me you're a nuclear scientist and Singapore is going to build a nuclear plant, you can be very guaranteed that this nuclear company will take you and then help you to pay a lot of money to hire you, because your skills, nobody can do it except you, or you are in nuclear law, and you negotiate deals for nuclear companies. All right, it has to be very specialized. Okay, very, very specialized skills, or you are so different, you are something so different that they absolutely need to have you, or you are first class, your results are so good. Okay, there are people that but that has happened before, by the way. We have a couple of students from, I'm not quite sure, from China and India who studied here, and somehow they managed to find someone who wants to hire them, and then they make the conversion, okay, from student pass to a local work permit. that of course is possible, but the school cannot guarantee that. That ultimately depends on the student and whether you are able to find an employer here to take you on and help you with the paperwork and the cost of doing so. Alternatively, you can go back to your home country, and then from home country, you can continue to look for jobs. But other than that, the working requirements here are very stringent. Even the United Kingdom and other and Anglo-Saxon companies are slowly tightening this. It's not just Singapore. This is across the world. Okay, this is just across the world. You need to find an employer that wants to sponsor you. What LSBF can give you is the skills, the qualification, okay, and the reputation that we have with our industrial partners. But ultimately, again, if you want to get a long-term employment in Singapore, you have to build your profile. Okay, you have to somehow have some skills, and then you have to go and actively. You got to play smart. Students who come in to study here, if I were you, I'll start looking at, for example, I'm interested in Amazon, I'm interested in Microsoft. I'll start talking to people here. How can I, I'll ask the HR of Microsoft, I'll type in, I'll send my resume. Please, sir, can I check with you whether there's any chance for us to meet up and have a chat, or what are the requirements for me that the Singapore HR department, Singapore Microsoft requirements have if I'm a foreigner? I want to work here. Can I have a short discussion with you? You got to be very proactive. Okay, the best students I've seen when they are studying, they have already started to do their own research when they are overseas. Okay. Those of my friends in the United Kingdom who are doing their masters there, when they are over there, they already start writing into all the big four companies, for inquiries, and then whether I can meet with whoever or join your talks. For example, if KPMG, one of the big four, KPMG has a networking session in Singapore and you're here studying, go for it. But you have got to take your own initiative, because we give you the degree and the skills, we give you the tools, but you are the one that gets the pay and the career, but you are the one that got to seize the opportunity for yourself. And that depends on every individual and how far you can go. Okay, so I would say the school can help you, but we cannot guarantee jobs. But you definitely have an advantage with an LSBF diploma or degree from the UOG. And then after that, when you are here or when you're overseas, you can start writing into companies and doing your own research. I mean, can you imagine if you tell me you want to join the Big Four, but then I ask you a question, so can you name the Big Four? And then some of the students say, I don't know who's the Big Four. What is the Big Four means? Then that means to say, it's you didn't do your homework and you didn't do sufficient research. I've got students tell me I want to join Goldman. Do you know that Goldman is firing 3,500 bankers this year? Do you know that? Are you reading the Financial Times? Are you reading the Economist on a regular basis? Do you know that Goldman is cutting bankers? Even Oxford University and Harvard, first-class honors, right? They can't get into Goldman. We have had a lecturer, I just interviewed a young lecturer who has his own private equity fund, and he came from Goldman. He's a private banker from Goldman, He tells me that for his company, they're cutting Harvard MBAs. I mean, Harvard MBAs can't get into his company, for example, this kind of things. So are you aware of the market trends that are going on? Are you able to seize this opportunity for yourselves? All right. Okay, so you got to go and do your own research on how you want to plan your strategy. And when you're starting in Singapore, when you're having a look-see, it's not just having fun, it's not just coming to campus, we're in the CBD, we're in the Central Business District, we're surrounded by banks. Why don't you walk into one of the banks? We are just beside the State Bank of India, if I'm not mistaken, or the Thai Bank. You can just walk in and then just ask questions, like, can I open a bank account here? Is this a corporate bank or retail banking? Just walk in and have some fun with it. Just explore. You got to know the market. If you don't know this and you try to apply for a job with the Big Four, they're absolutely going to turn you down. Okay, so to answer Dean's question, very interesting questions. Can you get a job in Singapore? The answer is yes, but it depends on how you strategize and do it. There are a lot of good candidates who can't get jobs here because it's very competitive and cutthroat, not just in Singapore, but around the whole world. Okay, if you go to London and New York, it's probably even more competitive than Singapore. So you got to have a better understanding. And if you come to LSBF again, We hope to enlighten you on the multiple possibilities that could happen, limited only by your own personal capability, potential, and your imagination. All right, thank you very much. Back to you, Dean.
Thank you so much, Mr. William, for answering all the questions. I think we're coming to the end of the session. And if there's any more questions, you can raise right now. Otherwise, we will be ending the session right now. Audience or students who want to get in touch with us, please get in touch with respective BD. I hope that you guys been assigned to the respective, sales consultant or business development manager. And if you are not sure how to reach out to us, probably you can, leave a message with us right now. I believe our marketing personnel, marketing staff, they will definitely, I would have shared the contact details, how to get in touch with us. So if there's nothing, then we would like to come to the end of the session today, and wish you all the best, and look forward to see you all at LSBF campus. Thank you so much.